Greetings, I'm the Bulgarian Troglodyte. So today I'm gonna do a video on my top 5 British directors. And this is a favorite list, not the greatest list. Because if this was a greatest list, it would probably be a bit different. But this is a video response to Solitary Ronin Films, who has started a new video series where he's gonna cover his top 10 directors lists from many different countries. So top 10 British directors, top 10 Italian directors, top 10 Japanese directors, etc. And I'm gonna do response videos to many of those videos. Maybe not all of them, but at least some of them. But today I decided to only do top 5, not top 10, because British cinema, I'm not that interested in it. I've of course seen plenty of British films, and I'm sure that I'm gonna watch plenty of British films in the future as well, but there aren't that many directors that I'm like really fond of. There are many that I like, and there are way more than 5 that I like, but there aren't more than 5 that I really love, so that's why I'm doing the top 5 here. But I also have a brief honorable mentions list in the end, although that honorable mentions list has a bit of a twist to it, but we'll get to it in the end, so don't worry about that. But let's start with this top 5. So number 5 is Peter Greenaway, and by the way, these were quite hard to rank. I'm not quite sure about the ranking, like I could have, for example, put Peter Greenaway at number 4 and Michael Powell at 5, and then Mike Leigh at 1 and Hitchcock at 2, for example, but yeah, it's kind of hard to say. Especially with many of these directors, there are many films that I need to rewatch, and after rewatches, my ranking might be very different. But anyway, let's start with Peter Greenaway, who is the kind of most artsy director out of these, because of course, well, Chaplin, Michael Powell, Hitchcock are very mainstream directors, and then Mike Leigh does that kind of social realist stuff. But Peter Greenaway is more of a like a European art house director, you could say, and this would be a great place to start with his filmography: The Cook, The Thief, His Wife and Her Lover. An insane film, very grotesque, macabre, but darkly funny as well. All about class and all about religion. Yeah. Michael Gambon is great as this piece of shit villain in this film. He has this over the top Cockney accent as well. Helen Mirren is really great in it. But anyway, let's go to the Peter Greenaway page here. So I have seen 10 films from him. He's made 75, although I think there are lots of like short films here, and not all of these are available to watch. But I've kind of seen the stuff that's up here, most of it. So again, The Cook, The Thief, His Wife and Her Lover is his most popular film. The Troutman's Contract is another great one that I need to rewatch. I kind of really need to rewatch these four, A Z and Two Notes, Drawing by Numbers, the Pillow Book. But these three, I think, are kind of near masterpieces, and I think on a rewatch they could be masterpieces. But then, along with The Cook, The Thief, His Wife and Her Lover, my favorite is Prospero's Books, which is this like really beautiful, painterly movie that doesn't really focus on any type of plot that much, but it's more about the vibe and the aesthetic. And Peter Greenaway is one of those directors where I think the style is the most important thing. He has this very grotesque style. It's very kind of meticulous, well thought out, beautiful, but ugly at the same time, because he has this very, okay, lots of macabre, grotesque imagery, but he shows that imagery in such a perfect way with these insanely beautiful and meticulous like still shots and stuff. Like there's a bit of like Kubrick vibes in there, I think, in the cinematography and how well the shots are placed and stuff like that. Yeah, so the kind of main reason I love his films is that they just look amazing. And I love that mix of ugly and beautiful. That's something that often hits me with many directors who do that type of stuff. Yeah. And Peter Greenaway is fairly transgressive, of course, that comes with the mix of ugly and beautiful. But he does that transgressive thing in a very good way. I think it never feels like he's just doing it for shock value or anything like that, but it feels like it's just his style to do that. And he has this obsession with male genitalia, I think, because you see so many dicks in his videos. No, not in his videos, but in his films. So warning about that if you are not into that sort of thing. Yeah. But what a great director. I like him a lot, and I need to start rewatching his films and then maybe catching some of the ones that I haven't seen yet. But again, The Belly of an Architect is a wonderful film available on BFI. The Baby of Macon, don't remember much about it, but I think I was slightly disappointed by this one, but it was a good one. The Falls is a very challenging film, but very good at the same time. And then we have this one, Eisenstein in Guanajuato. Guato, I don't know how to pronounce that, but yeah, this one was quite interesting as well. Liked it a lot. Yeah. But we'd highly recommend Peter Greenaway's films. I think he is slightly underrated. I think his films deserve more discussion, and hopefully more of his films would become better available as well. Like Troutman's Contract got that nice BFI release that I don't have yet, unfortunately. I think a set and two notes is available on BFI too. This is available on a Blu-ray as well. I don't remember the label. And I think the Pillow Book was released uh, by Indicator. But I think the Falls and Prospero's books, for example, deserve like proper boutique releases. And the Cook, the Thief and His Wife and Lover would be cool to get that on Criterion, for example. And I think Prospero's books was on some like maybe Spanish Blu-ray or Italian Blu-ray, but it's not available on Blu-ray, I think, in the kind of Anglo market. But anyway, great director. But then we have Michael Powell, who was the number one in Solitary Ronin's list, of course. But The Red Shoes is by far my favorite from him. It's a masterpiece, one of the greatest films of all time, and I think his most kind of deepest film, because I think some of his films are style over substance, because in the end they are kind of like the Disney films of the time. They are bright and beautiful, but I don't know that I don't know how deep they are in terms of their subject matter. Although I'm not saying that they are like completely hollow or anything, but compared to like Misoguchi, for example, yeah, there's not that much substance there, I think, in most of these films. Yeah. But anyway, there are so many great films here, especially in the upper row. The Black Narcissus, I think, is a five-star film. Again, such a beautiful eye candy type of film. Weeping Tom and these other two here. I really need to rewatch these. I haven't watched them recently, so I feel like my opinion on these films might be different now. But Peeping Tom, I liked quite a lot, but I feel like if I rewatch it now, I might like it way more. Then these ones I really loved, A Matter of Life and Death and The Life and Death of Colonel Blimp. They were really good. I think A Matter of Life and Death, that type of plot, it feels a bit cliche. Now it has been done, but this is like one of the best versions of that type of story I think there is. Then on the second row, I've also seen all of these films, and these are also all good films, but I need to rewatch The Tales of Hoffman, I think. I think Rodin really loves that one, but I didn't like it that much, although I was so young when I watched it, so I feel like I might like it more now. The Thief of Baghdad was like a very pleasant surprise to me. I ended up thoroughly enjoying it all the way through. And I know many people really laugh. I know where I'm going, but this didn't do that much to me. Just didn't connect to it for some reason. Yeah, I don't really have any kind of intelligent comments about these films. Canterbury, not Canterbury, a Canterbury Tale is a decent one. 49 Parallel, yeah, decent. Then I've seen The Small Back Room. And what was the? I think there's one more that I have seen. It was one of the kind of ones that people don't talk about. Where is it? Oh, it's this one, The Phantom Light. Yeah, this one I didn't enjoy at all. Kind of forgot the whole movie, to be honest. Yeah. But anyway, good legendary director. Obviously, he's now become like very popular in the cinephile circles. But at one point he was kind of forgotten. But then, of course, Scorsese championed him a lot and stuff. Yeah. But a good director, although I don't maybe love him quite as much as many other people do here on YouTube. Yeah. But then we have Charlie Chaplin. I desperately need to watch his films again. I went through them years ago, kind of all the kind of major ones, and I enjoyed pretty much all of them, and then some of them I really loved. So my favorite one is The Great Dictator, which is an absolutely hilarious film and feels very timely still to this day for some obvious reasons. Yeah, and it has that famous speech scene which is quite moving. The Kid, I think, is one of his most beautiful movies, one of the most kind of emotional movies that he made. The Gold Rush is just kind of pure fun. Really love this one. Of course, Modern Times and City Lights are legendary films. The Circus was great, and then Limelight is a great kind of late career film. Really, really good. And Monsieur Verdoux, another good uh, later career film. Yeah. Then these are a bit weaker, I think. A Woman of Paris and King in New York, but still watchable. But yeah, of course, I love these films because they are really funny, and I think they really hold up well in that regard still to this day. And also, I love how much heart there is in his films. They still work, or they still resonate with me emotionally still to this day. Yeah, and they still, and even they kind of, how do you say, they explored many timeless themes that are still relevant to this day. Especially, I think The Great Dictator is one that really resonates with us today, like I said earlier already. But a great director, and like I said, I need to go back to these films and watch them again. Yeah. Then we have Mike Leigh. I quite often mention him on my channel. And he's the director out of all of these five that connects with me the most emotionally. Uh, and his characters are, I think, very true to life. They're very humane, relatable, and many of the like characters in maybe like Michael Powell films, for example, they aren't as kind of true to life as Mike Lee's characters, for example. And say with someone like Greenaway because he does those crazy films. Yeah, but Mike Lee can make films about regular people and shows kind of how beautiful the human life is, even for normal people. But of course, he shows the struggles as well and the dark side to humanity in a film like Naked, for example. But he's a very consistent director. Many of these films are absolutely amazing. Like my two favorites are here on the top. Naked and Secrets and Lies, but his latest one, Hard Truths, I thought was a incredible film, and it was one of my favorite first time watches of this year. Then I think Life is Sweet, which I rewatched fairly recently. is a top tier film as well, and actually feels very timely. I think the characters and kind of the struggles that they have, that they kind of feel very timely still to this day. So, and lots of the dialogue here feels very timely today, I think, as well. Meantime was one of the ones that's quite famous and popular with Mike Leigh fans, but I couldn't connect with this one that much. But Another Year is another stunning film. Carrier Girls, I think, is one very underrated one. That's very good. I love the two female characters here and their friendship, even though the characters are quite different from each other. All or Nothing is one of his best. High Hopes is a great movie. Then this is another very underrated one. Abigail's Party. Really love this one of my favorites. Need to rewatch it. But I still need to watch some of these films like Topsy Turvy, Mr. Turner, and Peter Lou. And you can see a bit of a theme here that they that I need to kind of see the films that have maybe like a bigger concept or they kind of are bigger or grander type of films because those just don't look as much like my cup of tea as these kind of smaller films about normal people and their struggles. Yeah. But yeah, I love again the humanist side to his films. I think the characters are always great, and he of course has this method where the characters or the actors get to really kind of also decide a lot of the things about their characters, and they really before they start filming they rehearse a lot and really think about the characters and how they should be in the films. Yeah, so I think that method works really well. I think Mike Leigh also has a nice visual style. It's not flashy or like absolutely amazing like with Peter Greenaway or Michael Powell, for example, but his visual style really works well for what he's going for. And I think in terms of the visuals, I think Naked is probably the best film here, maybe. But yeah, I really love Mike Leigh a lot. But then the number one on my list is a very boring, big. But what can I say? Yeah, Vertigo here, which is of course by Alfred Hitchcock, one of the goats. Yeah, and Hitchcock is one of those directors. I've said this before in my channel too that I shouldn't love him as much as I do because he makes the type of films that I'm not that into generally, especially these days when I'm kind of very bored of the thriller genre. I'm very much bored of the whodunit genre. Yeah, but for some reason, Hitchcock's films still resonate with me today. They have that kind of unexplainable magic to me. I kind of find Hitchcock's films very hard to talk about because they kind of have that aura that I just can't explain. But if I go through some of my favorites by him, well, Vertigo is my favorite, and it has been my favorite for a long time because that goes beyond the thriller genre. Because lots of these films are just great thrillers, but I think Vertigo does something greater. It transcends the typical Hitchcock movie and goes for something more beautiful. Yeah, and that film is just absolutely hypnotic and beautiful and incredible in every single way. Yeah. But then I also really love Psycho and Rear Window. They are both incredible movies. I think especially Rear Window. But I remember when I rewatched it, I was going into the rewatch that will I still enjoy this film as much as I did back in the day? But then I was just the film completely swept me in and I fell in love with it all over again. Yeah. The Birds I haven't seen since I was a kid. Actually watched that when I was like 8 years old and I haven't seen it since. So it's been like 20 years. But I still remember some scenes about it and I actually really loved it as a kid. So that was my first exposure to Hitchcock back then. Then my top three is like Vertigo, Rear Window, and Rope. I think Rope is an absolutely incredible film. I love how it explores the Nietzschean Übermensch concept. It's also very gay. It has lots of queer subtext in it, so I like that a lot. James Stewart and the other two male actors are great in it. Really love this film. And North by Northwest is a film that I shouldn't love, but for some reason I absolutely love it. An incredible thriller. Then there are lots of these like very good films that I don't consider like my favorites or anything, but I think they're good films. So for example, these four here, Dial for Murder, Rebecca, Strangers on a Train, and Notorious. Then if we go down here, Shadow of a Doubt is of course very good. To Catch a Thief is good. The Man Who Knew Too Much is good. This is the 50s version. Yeah. Lady Vanishes, the 39 Steps are of course great. And I think The Wrong Man is a very underrated one. Yeah, that's incredible. And there's actually still quite a few Hitchcocks that I need to watch. Maybe the most famous one that I need to watch is Spellbound. But Marnie, I also haven't seen Marnie or Suspicion, for example. So I still need to watch lots of Hitchcock, and I'm looking forward to watching the ones that I haven't seen yet. But yeah, great filmmaker. Yeah. So this is my top five. So Hitchcock, Mike Leigh, Charlie Chaplin, Michael Powell, and Peter Greenaway. But again, this list is subject to change. It might be different a year from now, 5 years from now, and 10 years from now, etc. Then quick honorable mentions. So the twist here is that I actually decided to go with filmmakers that I haven't watched that many films of theirs. And then I thought that if you viewers of mine are more familiar with the directors, you can recommend me some films. Although Peter Watkins is the director that I have watched quite a few films from, and he's a filmmaker I really appreciate. I mean, I have only seen four films, so it's not that much, but I've seen Punishment Park, Edward Munch, The War Game, and Culloden. But this one I'm really looking forward to when I'm in the mood for it. This La Commune one, yeah, because I'm very interested in the subject matter, so that's why I'm very much looking forward to it. But it's quite long, and of course something that you need to be in the mood for. So looking forward to that. But Edward Munch is my favorite one. I think that's a masterpiece. And then Punishment Park I thought was incredible as well. But a very interesting director. I need to watch more of his films, and I also need to rewatch the ones that I have already seen because it's been some years since I watched them. Yeah. But then we have Lindsay Anderson. I've only seen, I think, two films from him. So If, I think, is an absolutely amazing film. Need to rewatch that one. Then This Sporting Life was another one that I liked a lot, but I haven't seen any of these others. I've heard great things about Oh Lucky Man, but then beyond that, I don't really know anything about these other ones. Yeah, so let me know if you have explored Lindsay Anderson's work a lot. Yeah. Then we have Derek Jarman. I've only watched a couple of his films, but I'm very interested in getting into his work more. But Caravaggio is a film that I liked a lot, and I like Caravaggio's paintings, but I also like the film about Caravaggio. And Blue is one that, believe it or not, I haven't seen it for some reason, but of course need to watch it. But I've watched Edward II, which I liked. But I've been very curious about, for example, Sebastian and Jubilee and many other films here. Yeah, he's a very intriguing director, so looking forward to going through some of these other films. Yeah. And then we have Ken Loach. I think I've only seen Kess from him, or I've seen something else. What's the other one? Oh yeah, it's just this like collection film. But I do want to start watching his other films as well. Like, of course, I Daniel Blake is on Criterion, for example. Then these are some of his later films, and I think now he's retired. I think didn't he retire after The Old Oak? But yeah, I'm interested in his films. again, only have seen Kiss and then the short film that's part of this. So yeah, I haven't explored his work enough to really say anything about it. Kiss I liked quite a lot, so I'm interested in his films, and of course he explores lots of important socio-political things that I'm also very interested in. So I'm looking forward to kind of seeing what his take is on those issues on his films. Yeah, so looking forward to getting into Ken Loach's films more in the future. But those were some honorable mentions. Of course, there are many other good directors as well, but I'm not gonna mention them here. But here is my top 5 again, and let me know your top 5 or preferably even your top 10 because that was the original goal, but I couldn't do a top 10 myself. Let me know what you think of these directors. Sorry that my commentary was quite bad here because these just aren't the directors that I have that much to say about, I think. Because, of course, there are some directors, at least for me, that I love, but I don't have that much to say about them. And then there are other directors that I love and I have a lot to say about them. Yeah, like for example, David Lynch, I could talk about for a long time. And many like Kobayashi, I could talk about for hours easily. But these are some directors that I don't have that much interesting things to say. But anyway, let me know your thoughts. Thanks for watching. Next up in this video series will be Italy, so I need to start working on my list. Sayonara and arigato gozaimashita.